I pledge allegiance to this flag. And if that bothers you, well, that's too bad.
And we're on Common Sense Radio. How is everybody doing on this beautiful November 16th? Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse today. I'm coming down with a head cold or something. So I'm going to have the other hosts in the show help me out and do a lot of more talking for me today. But welcome to this amazing show. We have an incredible lineup today. We have Elizabeth Blackwood in studio and Jackson Bubis. Welcome,
right.
ladies.
Hey.
We're going to be discussing guns and girls, the last legislative session, which was a blatant stomping on our Constitution and the rights that we hold as Americans. By the way, Senator Vicki Marble was supposed to be in studio today, but with a prior commitment, she could not be in studio. And so she apologized for not being here. But she was an absolute amazing advocate for us up there at the Capitol this last session. And so we'll get her back on in the near future. So welcome, my God-fearing, gun-toting girlfriends.
It's good to be here.
Yay.
And Annie, why don't we take it off and explain what Project Appleseed is all about?
Yeah, we at Common Sense News have always looking for interesting ways to get folks involved and participate in our American heritage. We have many writers who tell the American story in Common Sense News, but this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart, guns. I've been involved in and written hundreds of articles about shooting hunting industry for years. But this group was under my radar for some reason. I didn't know about it. So when we found out about it, Monique Durr wrote a really nice article in this next Common Sense News. But we wanted to have you girls in to really let us know what this group does. So what is Project Appleseed?
Well, thank you for having us. And Project Appleseed is a 501c3 organization dedicated to teaching marksmanship skills and American heritage. We tell the stories of April 19th, 1775. If you don't know that date, come to an Appleseed and we'll tell you, or I will tell you right now, it was the battles at Lexington and Concord. It was the first starting of the American Revolution and of us being an independent country.
So is this a political group? How do you work this group?
I think if you interview most of the people who come to an Appleseed, wherever they are on the political spectrum, nobody is thrilled with where the country is going. And the whole goal of our organization is to get people to realize the debt that they owe our founders and the debt that they owe the people who fought during the Revolutionary War. And to repay that debt, we want you to get off the couch. We want you to get involved, make a phone call, write a letter, take action, pay attention. And that's our goal. And we do it in such a fun way. People come for the history stories. People come for the marksmanship, for the shooting. We have a fun 2-day clinic for children and adults.
Jackson, I had some questions for you. The name Appleseed comes from Johnny Appleseed, and I just thought he planted trees. I didn't understand what the point to this was. And they say he toured the country planting apple seeds so that future generations would benefit. Project Appleseed is designed to ensure the next generations will benefit of the same liberties as the generations before them. Can you tell us a little bit about April 19th, 1775?
You know, it's hard to tell you just a little bit about April 19th, 1775. You know, we all grew up in the public schools where they told us Paul Revere got on a horse and he rode through the countryside and he said the British were coming, and that was shots were fired and this war started. Well, you know, that's about all I knew when I went to my first Appleseed, and my eyes were opened. And I think the thing about the idea of Appleseed and spreading that is that, you know, John Adams said that the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War were two different things. The war was the fighting, but the revolution was fought in the minds and hearts of the people well before any shots were fired. And we've relegated the lives of these incredible people to a paragraph in a history book. And so my job and Elizabeth's job, aside from the shooting, which is tons of fun, is to light that spark within each and every person to tell those stories so that if they ever have to tell their children, they can pass that on. That's the Appleseed concept.
It's funny you just said the spark. And in our last legislative session, this entire government in Colorado tried to strip our Second Amendment rights from us. In how many bills? 8? Was there 8 bills? 8 gun bills? Mm-hmm. And we fought back, and there was 2 successful recalls because of it. We're going to fight back. This is our Second Amendment. This is something you don't mess with. We've taught our children. I mean, you guys, I'm in studio right now and I'm looking at 4 amazing women. And I'm looking at these women going, gun, 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 gun. Gun-loving women who are responsible. We're responsible mothers, responsible grandmothers. We're responsible. We care about our kids and we teach them about guns. And right now, they're trying to take those guns away from us. And for what? So I would like more women to get involved with this Project Appleseed.
Is it like a Civil War reenactment? I've seen people dressed up at different times, and I kind of was curious, but, I was involved with rendezvous at reenactments for a while. And so, we had to dress up, and at certain times you couldn't be in camp without being in costume. What is Appleseed? Do you have to dress up to come to one of your events?
For Appleseed, if you're coming in the winter, dress warmly. If you come in a reenactment outfit, you get in for free. But we shoot modern rifles. We tend to have people bring their .22s and a sling and some ammunition and come and have a great day with us.
Okay, well, we've got a caller on the line. And so let's bring on, actually, our caller on the line is for our next segment. So that's awesome. So we'll continue with Appleseed. Sorry.
Okay, so you have your marksman classes, and in those classes, because I thought, okay, reenactments. So are they just going to be shooting flintlocks and muzzleloaders? Can you do that, or do you just shoot .22s?
We are teaching the marksmanship skills that were taught during World War II. A World War II soldier was bonused if they were a marksman. And our history of our country was founded on men who were riflemen, who knew what they were about. They knew how to shoot. They shot to feed their families. And that's a skill that's waning in our culture. So we want people to learn how to shoot accurately. And we spend the day going through the skills necessary for marksmanship.
Would this be a class you could use for your concealed carry class? I mean, it's rifles. It's a little different, but
we teach a lot of safety, but we do rifles, not pistol, and we do not cover your concealed carry class. Okay. But
Elizabeth and Jackson, how do women get a hold of you? Or not just women, right? It's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
So how do people get a hold of you right away to get involved with Project Appleseed?
The best thing to do is to visit our website at appleseedinfo.org, appleseedinfo.org, and you can check on the Colorado calendar. We have one more shoot coming up this year, December 14th and 15th.
That is awesome. I want to kind of do that. I am
definitely
really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'd be a great class to attend. What did the ladies? Your website said the ladies played a real important part on April 19th. What's an example of what they did?
Well, I think if you look at our history books, like Jackson said, you get a good paragraph or 2 on the role of individuals during the Revolutionary War. But over our 2-day marksmanship clinic, we talk about what each person, what individuals did to contribute, regardless of their age, regardless of their sex. They participated in it. And the stories of heroism from women who passed notes through their children, and the stories of men who were really too old to fight, who took a stand. Very remarkable. And when you learn about the sacrifices these people made, there's a connection. And they had no choice. They could fight or they could be slaves. And they chose to fight. They chose to stand up to tyranny. And we now, as citizens of the United States, we're given a third option. We can vote. We can participate. And we have to do that because of the sacrifices these people made. They didn't do this for them. They did it for posterity. And I'm sitting in a room and I go to school and I talk to people and we are posterity. And they did it for us. We owe them to take action.
That's wonderful. Back to the marksmanship class. Is it a class that anyone can join? Do you have to already know how to shoot? Can you start from the beginning? And if you're a woman going, I've been in classes where just women taught, and I've also been in classes where men taught women, and on occasion the women aren't as comfortable with a man instructor or in a class full of men. What can you offer that?
Well, we will introduce beginners and children and men and women, as well as expert shooters, to the rifle sports. And we will work with them from which end is the dangerous end to how to shoot a 20-inch target at 500 yards. That's the goal. And we do play a game. We have women instructors. Of course, we always need more. And we are run all with volunteers. But our goal is to make everybody comfortable. And so even if you're unable to stand for very long or you have to sit, we will adjust the course of fire for you. It's more important that you come out and have a lot of fun and you're safe and you learn something than it is that you score a marksman the first time out.
Okay, so the website, appleseedinfo.org.
Yes.
Appleseedinfo.org. If you want to get involved with Project Appleseed, this is absolutely amazing. We are getting ready to go to a break here in a little bit, but we want to just kind of, don't forget about Candace Corner that will be coming up soon. Kanda Califf is in studio, Ken, of course, and she's our research extraordinaire. Ann Vanola from Common Sense News USA. Ann, what's going on with Common Sense?
Well, let me get over to that page real quick. We've got some really exciting things that are happening. This month we're doing our November and December issues combined, and we wanted to have people really start getting an idea of what they're thankful for, and also why we call it the Christmas season. So Christmas, yeah. I
Not
remember
winter
that.
holiday party?
No, you remember the Christmas season.
Oh, okay. So it's not just a winter party at school?
No.
Snowflakes and snowmen?
Nope, it's not.
Oh, okay.
I know. In our heritage, we are actually we started out as a Christian group. So it's kind of a neat idea to have it return to that.
Yeah, exactly. When we come back, we're gonna have Jaxine Elizabeth stay in studio with us, and we're gonna keep going with the conversation. We're gonna have City for Champions, and we're gonna be bringing that up, what this week went through. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Umbrellas are always out with fellers in the rain or the blazing sun. We are the champions, my friend.
Oh, come on.
We got
Keep it going. Scott is amazing, Scott, our producer. Thank you, Scott. You always pick the right music for the right topic. Of course, we still have Elizabeth and Jackson in studio with us, Ann Vanola from Common Sense News, and Kanda Kayla from Candace Corner. And we've been talking about Project Appleseed. Don't forget to also go to libertyseed.org. That's libertyseed.org. And they can bring the message to your individual organizations or groups, and we'll get the word out there that way.
We can come tell our stories and tell the stories of 1775 and get you familiar with some of those characters and some of those people that gave it all for us. So we'd love to come. So get in touch with us from libertyseed.org.
Perfect. We will do that. And we'll also put it up on our website. On the line, we have City Council member Joel Miller. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lana. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for being with us. We know that you're extremely busy, Joel, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us today. You have a full-time job. You work full-time for the city as a city council member. You're a father of 4 children, and you're a loving husband. And we just thank you for fighting for liberty and transparency and accountability. And we know that you have so much going on, and so welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks again. It's a pleasure to serve, and it's a pleasure to stand up to do what I think's right. So hopefully in the end, what I'm standing up for, everyone can at least agree to the fact that it's right. So that's the goal.
Well, you've got 4 ladies in here right now that are 100% behind you, and we love that you are incredibly transparent. So let's get started. There was a letter from the mayor. Can you kind of go over that with us a little bit?
Well, the revised, that the initial application for City for Champions met a third-party analysis that the state designated, and came back with a lot of critical comments on the application, to include the lack of commitment for any sort of financing, either from the private or the public sector. And the contention is that the city's gone about it backward. The state program, which is, in my estimate, is a state stimulus program subject to the same failure the federal one had, but that's a separate issue for discussion. But what they look for the state to do with their stimulus is to provide gap financing. So you've got enough base financing to start the projects, and then the state will fill in the gaps to allow them to go. Well, the city's kind of gone about it the other way. Say, hey, we want the state to be the basis for it, and then later we'll fill in the gaps with potential public financing and private financing. So they have done nothing in terms of solid commitments. And that was the critique that the third-party analyst said. So in response, the applicants sent in a bunch of letters from the private sector, not one of which in the private sector had given a dollar amount. It was only words like, we will welcome and positively look at possibly giving money if we're asked for it. So there's really no commitment, no assurances from the private sector. But there was one letter. There was a letter from the county commissioners, which I'd like to talk about a little bit, too. But there was also one from the mayor of Colorado Springs, citing a number of potential public funding sources that the city would can use. It talked about the bonding capacity, talked about incremental tax financing, it talked about even general fund revenues that could be used. And the words, the city is committed to using these, that phrase was used to begin 2 paragraphs. The city is committed. And really, for the mayor to commit the city to use this funding to pay for the projects, I think should be alarming to everybody. And what's more alarming is that to get a copy of that letter, I had to personally file a CORA request because City Council wasn't provided the amended application. So really, I think there's some issues here that need to be worked out.
Well, Joel, this is Kanda. I was reading, actually, the different things that came in from all of our CORA requests, because multiple people had to do that to get this information. And on the county commissioner's letter, it CCs the city council. Did you not receive a copy of that letter?
No, that was... It listed as CC, but perhaps there was a clerical error that it didn't come to council.
I'm sure that's what it was. That's what it was. I'm sure it was a clerical error from our commissioners.
Well, reading these funding commitments, they're called funding commitments, which means there should be some hard dollars attached to these commitments. But every letter I read had nothing in there except for, yeah, we like this idea. Well, I don't know where the money's coming from, but I'd like to hope that it's coming from the private industry, because I personally don't think we should be raising taxes. I think the Colorado citizens have spoken in these last couple of elections. They do not want to raise taxes at this time. We're in an economic depression. So what do you foresee City Council doing? Are you guys taking any action to help the project, push back? What's going on with the City Council?
Well, first, I want to clarify, I don't want to perpetuate, I don't think anybody's asking to raise taxes, but the issue of concern for me is that even though you don't raise the taxes, you take the taxes that we have, and instead of putting them into the general fund, you put a piece of them in to pay for these projects. So general fund monies that are above a baseline, that once the taxes collected go above the baseline, anything above that, a portion of that goes to pay for the projects. Which the problem is we can't directly attribute any of those increases to the projects. It would basically be the entire city. If the economy improves City for Champions gets the credit, and then instead of going into the general fund, those monies are diverted to pay for the projects. That's the basis of incremental tax financing.
So would infrastructure suffer as a result?
Well, anything that could be paid for by the general fund, who would normally get all of the city sales tax, and now would be subject to a limitation because some of that would be diverted and skimmed off the top to go for these projects. So anything that's in the general fund budget could potentially be affected. And what you hear is that, well, these projects will drive the economy in such a way that actually we're going to end up getting more sales tax money. So this is a good way to pay for. So all the things that could potentially be having their budgets affected in a negative way by this, they're telling us these projects will drive the general fund so much bigger that it'll help these things. And so it just depends on which snake oil salesman you're going to believe here.
Joel, I know the Gazette has been pretty much attacking you left and right on this issue. And I just wanted to say before we go to break, by the way, can you hang on with us through the break and come back? Okay. I wanted to just say the Anschutz owns the Gazette, the Anschutz family. They own the Gazette. They also own the Broadmoor, which they will reap benefits from having the City for Champions there. They were also involved in the first $75,000 given to the city to bring this whole thing in the marketing, to bring this whole marketing up on the City for Champions, as well as the Downtown Development Authority, El Pomar, and the City of Colorado Springs. So we will get back to that in just a few minutes, right after this break. Joel, hang on with us. Thank you for hanging on the line with us.
No problem.
Like me.
Where there is desire, there is gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get burned. But just
Someone's bound to get burned. And we're going to name them all here in just a little bit. I am just absolutely, I can't even believe what I witnessed yesterday at the press conference that they had for City for Champions. It was something to witness. It was cronyism at its finest. I mean, it really was.
Well, I posted on my Facebook page a question because of that conference. And it was, is it government's job to grow the economy? Because our county commissioner, Amy Lathan, alluded to the fact that it was government's job to grow our economy. She's supporting this idea that somehow we don't need the private industry to grow our economy, because this is not private industry doing this. This is us, the taxpayer. So Joel's on the line, and we were just discussing about how he's been attacked by the Gazette, but Anschutz, who owns the Gazette, is behind this project and has been funding the marketing campaign. So, Joel, how have you guys been handling all of the attacks that you've been taking?
Well, first of all, let me just say that the First Amendment guarantees the freedom of speech. And so if there is a private individual corporation that wants to buy a newspaper, it is their right to speak. So I have no issues with the Gazette, and they have some great reporters that do some great reporting, as long as the truth is being told. So I'm going to leave that one as it is, but I will say that it's not going to affect. I don't know if the intent is to try to get me to be quiet because there's some agenda that I'm not keeping with, but certainly if they think that's what's going to happen, they don't know me very well. So, it's not ideal to have your name dragged through the paper, although, if I were running for re-election, I would have to file an in-kind donation from the Gazette, because every time they did it,
That's good.
the traffic on my Facebook page and my website, tripled or quadrupled. So as much as I think they were trying to get me to shut up, they were getting other people to listen to me. So I think it sort of backfired.
Joel, this is Jax here. In that letter, you kept mentioning that the mayor said the city of Colorado Springs is committed. Well, I just have a quick question. Who is the city of Colorado Springs? The mayor is not the city of Colorado Springs. I'm the city of Colorado Springs, and Lana's the city of Colorado Springs. And Kanda, I don't think Ann lives in the city of Colorado Springs, and I don't.
But
think
I do own a
Elizabeth does.
business here.
Yeah, and so politicians have forgotten that we, the people, are their bosses. And it's time they start remembering. I do believe we showed John Morse who the boss was. And it's time that other politicians start remembering, that we're the boss. That's the way our republic was set up. And we as people need to get involved. That's why we were talking about Appleseed, is if we don't get involved and make those phone calls and send those emails and tell our county commissioners, hello, do you have your fingers on the pulse of the citizens? I don't think so. Then they're just going to continue doing what they're doing.
Well, I think it's really important what you mentioned is, I don't know if there's a city attorney definition of what the city is, but they use that term pretty loosely. Some people do. But in terms of the funding sources that were specifically mentioned, public debt, in terms of the city being committed, that would be a vote of the public. That's guaranteed under the charter and under Tabor. So with regard to commitment that has the authority to commit, that would be the public. A lot of the other ones, including general fund, because that was also cited, efficiencies gained in the municipal government, that would be increases in the general fund. So if they were to be used, the commitment authority there is the city council. And I haven't missed a voting meeting yet since I've been sworn in, and there was no commitment made for that. So I think it's really important that people understand that.
Joel, we just talked about how Ann Schutz is behind the marketing for proposal for the City for Champions, but so is the Downtown Development Authority. Isn't that just an arm of the city?
Well, really, it's a special district, which is another whole can of worms that we can talk about at some point.
But it does get funding from the city, but downtown area. Is that correct?
But not from the city. It's a tax. It's a tax for people in the zone. So that's the essence of it. And like you can set up, a lot of the developers have set up different areas, and it has to be done through. It's allowed through state statute to set up these districts, and it's approved and put into place by city council and then filed with the state. And so a certain portion of property tax, a certain portion of sales tax collected in a zone go to that zone for them to make their expenditures and pursue their goals that they were chartered to do, I guess. So, yeah, the DDA, it is, I guess you would say it's public money because there's money on tax bills that are going into it, but it's not city-controlled money.
And then the city of Colorado Springs, they also donated $75,000 to this marketing campaign?
Yeah, and that's real interesting because, there was a lot of outrage when the first application came out in July that council hadn't been informed, and so there was sort of this lack of transparency. In response to that, I guess in an effort to refute that, we were sent from the city attorney's office some documents about a closed meeting that the previous council had, and I won't divulge anything of the content there other than to say there was no information that it was going to be a $218 million proposal. Council backed the idea of doing the application and backed the expenditure. I don't know, given the information, whether I would have or not. I would rather like to think that I wouldn't have, but they did allocate funds, $75,000. But to say that it was open and transparent, the discussion occurred in closed executive session, and then they came out and voted for the appropriation.
Correct. Now, Joel, Colorado Constitution, Article 6, Section 2, says, neither the state nor the county, city, town, township, or school district shall make any donation or grant to, or in aid of, or become a subscriber to, or shareholder in any corporation with any person, company, corporation, public, or private. Mm-hmm. They can't legally even make a donation to the Boy Scouts. Right. So my question is, there was a great question at the press conference yesterday, and that was, who is going to own this?
Well, if you remember the response was, that's a detail we haven't worked out.
Oh, of course not. We have no details.
I think one of the reporters that was there kind of question that in outrage. Saying,
Yes.
that's a detail.
Yes.
I think that's a pretty important one to work out, as well as the financing. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty, and for people to be getting behind this is not a concept plan. What people need to understand, and even though they've been misled to the contrary, this is not a concept plan and a vision and us getting along and pushing the city forward. This is a very specific plan.
Hey, Joel, we got to go to a break, sweetheart. Thank you.
I'm going home, gonna load my shotgun, wait by the door and light a cigarette. He wants a fire, well now he's got one and he ain't seen me crazy yet. Stop my
And we're back to Common Sense Radio. I'm Lana Fore, your host, and we are now going to go to Candace Corner.
Technology is a double-edged sword. It can benefit us if used responsibly. It can be our worst nightmare if used against us. There's more accountability in the private sector, but not much in government. With government, the few rule the many. Government bureaucrats, whether they be at your local school or up on Capitol Hill, for seemingly benign reasons, want to use technology to create efficiencies. They aren't looking far into the future. They are applying fixes. They get lauded for how many rules they make, even if those rules have great potential for abuse. School District 38 is considering using a hand palm scanner in their schools for tracking some of their kids. These kinds of goings-on are happening all over our state. It shows a particular type of philosophy that is taking root in our school districts. It's an out-of-touch philosophy that is extreme and short-sighted. Isn't it just like government to use a sledgehammer when the job only calls for a screwdriver? Sure, a sledgehammer can put in a screw, but it also leaves half the wall demolished. It's why school boards all over this state were taken back by the people, to put a stop to this type of nonsense. This shows a real blind faith in technology. Technology is in many ways at odds with basic human rights and civil liberties. They can say that they don't store the data, but they are storing some sort of identifier into some value that can be used. You're identifying someone for some specific reason. You're separating individuals from a larger pool of individuals. School District 38 in Monument justified their push for these scanners because it was only for the poor kids who receive free breakfast. This contributes to classism. For a sci-fi reference, watch the movie Gattaca, where genetic engineering is used, and anybody who is a love child, which means they weren't created with scientists' intervention, was marked as an unworthy class of citizen to participate in certain occupations, schools, etc. For a real-world example, this is what was done with eugenics. This was a way for the Nazis to identify who was considered inferior and render these people infertile or kill them. Technology has a close relationship with control and authoritarianism. It allows those with this power to influence the actions of the many. Do we want our government having this kind of power? Just take a look at some of the greatest novels of the 21st century. Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World, George Orwell's 1984, and Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. In these novels, technology was used to put these tyrannical regimes into place and keep them in place. Technology is something that has to be constantly scrutinized by every individual and entity. Some may think this line of reasoning is extreme. Ask the survivors of the Holocaust if this is capable of happening. How does the IRS with our taxes have so much control? Technology. How does the HHS with Obamacare have so much control? Technology. How does Homeland Security have so much control? Technology. How does the NSA have so much control? Technology. How do you think these gross abuses of power came to be? Do you think it started this big, or do you think it grew to this size from small choices? This is my concern here. Does your school board reflect your values? Do they respect individual freedoms, or do they perpetuate control? Are they going to teach your children to love liberty or to conform at the expense of those liberties? If you want to track the kids' school breakfast or lunch programs, here's an idea. Use an ID card. The palm scan idea takes us down the slippery slope of governmental invasiveness. What will be next? Will they be asking for our kids to get chips inserted? And those are my considerations in Candace Corner.
Unbelievable. Palm scanning our kids. Biometric palm scannings for our kids. And Jax, Elizabeth, let's just go ahead and tag our kids now.
It's ridiculous. You know, they've been doing it in Carroll County, Maryland. And one of the big concerns that one of the parents had, he's not letting his kid do it. He's opting out. And this school district gave 1 week for in Colorado, in Monument, gave 1 week for the parents to complain about it or opt their kids out. And I know that there's been a bit of pushback on it since then. But this parent was saying he's concerned that the use of scanners by elementary school students normalizes the use of biometrics and anesthetizes young children to recognizing privacy violations later in life. They won't understand that this is a violation of their privacy. Well, it's always been done since I was a little child. So why would that be a problem later?
You know, the Nazis used tattoos.
That's a very good point.
Just saying.
Of course, they also used stars and different symbols on the clothes. That'd probably be cheaper than palm scanners, and we
This
could,
is the poor
we
kid.
could separate the poor kids from the not so poor kids, and the brown-eyed kids from the blue-eyed kids, and the blonde kids from the dark-haired kids, and the naughty kids from the good kids. And I could go on and on and on.
One of the things that this person said in Maryland was, I understand taking an iris scan of a pilot at an airport, so you know it's the right pilot flying the right plane. This is that kind of level of equipment that they're installing in a line that serves steamed corn. I don't think it rises to the level of steamed corn.
Exactly. This is ridiculous. On the last segment, so this was on the District 38. This is up in Monument. So I guess it's Monument, Palmer Lake.
Yes.
This is really in consideration to Bear Creek Elementary.
Yes.
So it's one school.
They were going to start it there. And then it was a starter program.
So listen up, parents. Listen up. Coming to a school district near you. Biometric scan handling.
Are these the same schools that didn't have enough money to handle educating our children? I'm sure this technology has got no cost to it. It's not expensive to implement or train or purchase. And they can't get textbooks
Exactly.
No, but it'll get their kids through the lunch line faster.
to get their steamed corn.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Well, last segment we were talking about City for Champions, and we're going to do a roundtable in our next segment about that. And I want to thank again Joel Miller for coming on and calling in. I know we had to cut him off, but we had to go to our break and pay a bill. But thank you, Joel Miller, for calling in and being a part of this and for really sticking up for the people. I mean, he has really stuck his neck out there. Helen Collins, I know, has done the same thing. We just need to stand behind these folks and let them know that we support them and thank them, because they're the ones who are up there every day. We don't know what's going on. We were just talking about that, how people are so out of it. They don't even, I voted. They don't even know about the voting process. So we will get into that in future shows and stuff like that. But this is just out of control. It's really out of control with what they're doing with City for Champions.
Well, I will tell you, one of the big things for me with this whole City for Champions is that I don't think it's along party lines. It's not Republican, Democrat. It's definitely a thing about the principle itself. Does government grow an economy? Does it do the job, or is it the private sector that grows the economy?
So is this the stimulus bill for Colorado Springs?
Ooh, good. Yes.
That has worked really, really well.
Shouldn't the government get out of the way so the private sector can create a vibrant economy on itself?
That's what I just said with with World Arena.
Right.
And we're opening an event center.
The government's done so well with Amtrak, with the post office, with healthcare. I don't get it.
We're going to a break. We'll be back in just a minute.
Yes, I paid the price.
Deep like the grandest canyon, wild like an untamed stallion. If you can't see my heart, you must be blind.
And we are back to Common Sense Radio. I'm Lana Fore. We're continuing the discussion. Okay, we've discussed a lot today. Project Appleseed. Website, Elizabeth.
Appleseedinfo.org.
And Liberty Seed.
LibertySeed.org.
And that's for people to have you come down and speak to them.
Absolutely. We'll come to your church. We'll come to your ladies group. We'll come to your Rotary group. We'll bring our road show and tell the stories of April 19th, 1775.
Let's get people involved.
That'd be fun.
This would be really fun.
Yes.
Great. And then we had of course, City for Champions destruction. I have no other word for it. Actually, you had a word for it.
Well, I call it box boondoggle. But then I saw one that was even better. It was de-bach-ol.
That's awesome.
That's a good one, too. And so, Anne, we were just talking about the Colorado Constitution in Article 6 of Section 2. Y'all, look at that, please. I mean, we have a Constitution for a reason. So let's look at that. It says, neither the state nor county, city. Do you hear that? Okay. Town, township, school district shall make any donation or grant to or in aid of or become a subscriber to or shareholder in any corporation or company or joint owner with any person, company, corporation, public, or private.
Now, doesn't that seem to, on their website, they say El Paso County has agreed to become a financial partner in making the Colorado Sports and Event Center a reality by pledging a portion of its local increase in tax revenues, specifically from the RTA. And then, similarly, the city of Colorado Springs. The city of Colorado Springs is pledging a portion of its increase in local city sales tax revenue as a source of funding for the public portion of the funding. I thought they said there wasn't going to be any tax increases.
And you know what? Get this. That whole sports, the soccer team that they're talking about is called...
The mystery soccer team?
Yeah, it's called RagainSports.com, RAGAIN sports.com. And he created this website less than a month ago and just incorporated this month.
I just looked at it and there's information on it that's less than a week or 2 weeks old. This is a brand new website they threw up. I think they're saying if they build it, we will come.
Wait, Jax,
or,
you live in
what?
the city. Did we okay this?
I think it's an imaginary soccer team that's going to come downtown where I'm not going to go. I wouldn't have gone down there for Sky Sox, but I'm sure as heck not going to go there for a soccer game.
Okay.
Well, I think they didn't expect us to look behind the curtain. We looked behind the curtain and get this. I think this is fascinating. They did a poll. I didn't get a call, but they did a poll and they asked, would you guys approve of this project if it allowed Colorado Springs and El Paso County to keep state sales taxes from outside visitors, from other places? And of course, 58% said yes. But the reality is, we don't know who's going to come. They're making these estimates. It just seems like they're making up stuff.
Well, the medical tourism part, what is it?
Regional
Tourism
Tourism
Act. And they're trying to put in a medical facility at the Colorado College. And that is supposed to be somehow connected to our tourism.
Yeah, so we're going to take the kids and go to the car and go to the medical facility and go, look.
Yeah, we're going to take them all the way to Colorado for this. I don't understand how
Jax-
they're going to...
further away from the things they want to see.
Exactly.
Jackson, Elizabeth, thank you, ladies, for being
welcome.
in here. You're
Thanks
welcome
for
on the
having
show
us.
anytime. We love you
Our
guys.
pleasure.
Come
You're
back
welcome.
in. We're going to continue this debate on November 30th. Next week, we're going to be talking about our Thanksgiving special. We also have U.S. Senate candidate Ken Buck that's going to be with us next week. And we're going to, of course, have Candace Corner. And we're going to talk more about City for Champions. But we're going to continue the debate on November 30th. So please stay tuned with us. Common Sense Radio, Saturdays, 2 p.m. Thanks for being with us.